Sharp Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com off of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. And one of the biggest problems that I see today is a lot of people don't know what they shouldn't do. Now, there's a lot of people that will tell you, well, you should do this, you should do that, maybe you should try this, but they never tell you what you shouldn't do. And what you shouldn't do is just as important as what you should be doing. And see, a lot of people, they aren't, a lot of people aren't raised or haven't been taught what they shouldn't be doing. But they've been taught a lot about what they should do more than anything else. And they're not even doing that most of the time. And this is a problem that a lot of guys run into, because a lot of guys are out here just winging it. They're listening to everybody else but themselves. And when they socialize around women, or when they date women, or get in relationships with women, there's no boundaries established. A lot of guys just assume that women just supposed to do whatever they're supposed to do. There's a lot of times there's no discussion. And the reason why I know this, because I used to be one of those people. I used to be one of those guys that used to assume that women knew what to do when they were out in public with me, or when they were in a relationship with me. But I was sadly disappointed, because what used to happen is I used to go to these events and parties and conferences, and every once in a while I used to bring a woman with me. Maybe somebody that I was dating, somebody I was close to, or maybe one of my girlfriends at the time. And most of them got very uncomfortable when a lot of people started coming around me, and they started talking, and we started having conversation and everything. And one girl was so nervous one time, I actually brought her, I graduated at the time. And my family came around. My family met me at the restaurant after the graduation ceremony and everything. And this one girl was so nervous, she was shaking at the table. And her eyes were all big and everything. So I was trying to make her feel comfortable, or to not make it so obvious, but it didn't work out. It wouldn't work out that way. She was so nervous. It seemed to me that she just wasn't used to being around large groups of people. And I kind of blame myself for that, because there wasn't a conversation before me taking these women around large groups of people. So, boundaries have to be set. Things have to be said in advance most of the time. Don't assume that women know how to act and know how to behave. Don't assume that men know how to behave and act either. Don't assume shit. Sometimes a conversation has to be had up front. And this is why a lot of guys, in public, I see a lot of guys arguing with women. Because 9 times out of 10, the woman either said something or done something he didn't like. And in certain situations, he probably want to beat her up, and a lot of times it's been situations where I was I had a woman out and about with me, and she started chit-chatting with other guys. Like, it was like I was here, but not really here. You know what I mean? So, and then she was, on top of that, she was on the telephone, on the cell phone, sending texts and answering the phone. So what I used to do back in the day, this is like when I was in my 20s, I would get up from the table and say, hey, I'm going to the restroom. And I would go to the restroom and I would leave her ass at the restaurant because I got so angry to the fact that I felt disrespected because she was on the phone consistently, phone ringing off the hook, she's sending texts, plus she's talking to other guys in my presence. And then one thing that I learned, one of the biggest lessons I learned, is a lot of guys are very disrespectful. Because you might have a guy, I think I've seen this happen in Miami more than anywhere else. Guys will walk up to a woman that's with you and start talking and don't acknowledge you at all. See, there's certain protocols that must be put in place. If you walk up, you have to have permission to talk to a man's woman, whether it's in public or your wife or your girlfriend. You should as a man, you should always ask for permission. You know, see, but a lot of guys don't understand this because they weren't raised in a respectful manner. And this is why a lot of guys get themselves into trouble, because they just don't respect other men. You know what I mean? It's sad but true. They just haven't been raised that way. And I see it all the time. A lot of guys they do it, and I think sometimes they don't think anything wrong with it because they've been doing the same thing for so long, and nobody probably ever checked them on the shit. And if a guy talks to your woman, and maybe you're not in the presence at the time, maybe you went to the restroom, your woman should know what to do to make him get the hell on. You know, this ain't no damn, what conversation are you trying to have with another man? I mean, unless it's about some type of business, making some money, cool. But other than that, what the hell you got to talk about? You know, even if my friend introduced me to his wife or his girlfriend or somebody he got on a date, once he introduced me to her, I say, "Hi, okay, nice to meet you." You know, that's about it. I mean, if I see her somewhere else when he's not around, I'll just speak and keep it moving. I'm not going to stop her and get in a conversation unless it's about some type of business. But other than that, just social conversation about gossip. What for? I mean, why? What type of business do I have talking to another man's wife or girlfriend? If it ain't about no money, it don't make sense. But even still, then I would, just to be respectful, I would call my man, my friend, and say, "Hey, let me have a word with your wife or your girlfriend about whatever business opportunity I'm probably thinking about," or vice versa. But just to gossip and have social conversation, what for? I mean, I just been around a long time that sometimes you got to stay in your lane and you got to cover your ass. And you can't get caught out there in some bullshit, some nonsense. That's just how I roll. A lot of guys don't understand this. See, this is why, And a lot of guys might not like what I'm saying right now, because in most relationships, this is just across the board, there's usually no boundaries being set. Everybody is just doing whatever they feel like doing, because that's what it's always been done. That's what they always been doing. So regardless of the guy or the girl that they talk to or dating or in a relationship with, or even being married to, they assume that the next person is going to be cool with those bad habits that they might have. And a lot of guys make the mistake because they don't lead women. They don't have conversations up front with women. They just assume that she knows what to do. And that's a horrible mistake, because a lot of guys, get in public with a lot of women, and a lot of women will act a fool and they'll make a scene. And they'll do stuff that put the guy in a bad position, or maybe have him looking like a fool in public. So to avoid that, you just have to establish boundaries. Certain protocols have to be established up front, so there won't be any confusion. And if the woman that you're dealing with, if she's combative and don't want you to lead and wants to do what she wants to do out in public around people, you need to leave her at home. And if it escalates, and if it doesn't get any better, if it gets worse, you need to let her go and move on, because she ain't for you. So if you like what you heard, check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. Subscribe to my channel. Join my Players Club. Get my books by clicking the links below and going on Amazon.com. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.